Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Thank you all for tuning in. My name is Matt Morris. We are live right now on YouTube as well as on Rumble at Matt Morris TV. Ladies and gentlemen, first off, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you all for spending your Saturday morning with me. Boy, howdy, folks, do we have a lot to talk about today. We have a very eventful broadcast ahead of us. President Trump, earlier this morning went absolutely scorched earth on his Truth Social page, pretty much gut punching the entire left-wing propaganda apparatus. We're going to take a look at that. We also have some pretty massive updates pertaining to the Save America Act. As you all know, as of yesterday evening, we officially have all of the votes in the Senate that we need to actually pass this thing. But so now the real battle finally begins, and we're going to talk about what that real battle actually looks like. Earlier this morning, Secretary of State Marco Rubio gave a speech over in Europe at the Munich Security Conference, pretty much absolutely cooking all of the European Union bureaucrats and globalists, saying effectively, hey, Europeans, you need to get a grip on your situation. Otherwise, Europe is pretty much going to devolve into a third world hellhole, and we don't want to see that happen. So we're going to take a look at what Marco Rubio had to say earlier this morning, and also the DOGE, that's right, the Department of Government Efficiency, has just dropped a nuke that pretty much has all of the Democrats absolutely panicking. And so we're going to take a look at that as well. Ladies and gentlemen, do me a favor. Make sure to hit that like button. Make sure to subscribe to the show. If you are new to the community, thank you all. As I said, happy Valentine's Day. Thank you all for tuning in today. Today is a special, lovely edition of the broadcast. But with that being said, why don't we go ahead and jump right into the show? I think probably we should kick things off by taking a look at what President Trump posted earlier this morning, just a couple hours ago, in fact, on Truth Social. Like I said, he went scorched earth on the entire left-wing propaganda apparatus, singling out disgraced talk show talk show host. He's not a hoe, at least as far as I know. Bill Maher. President Trump said, sometimes in life, you waste time. TV host Bill Maher asked to have dinner with me through one of his friends, also a friend of mine, and I agreed. He came into the famed Oval Office much different than I thought he would be. He was extremely nervous, had zero confidence in himself, and to soothe his nerves, immediately within seconds, asked for a vodka tonic. He said to me, I've never felt like this before. I'm actually scared. In one respect, it was somewhat endearing. Anyway, we had a great dinner. It was quick, easy, and he seemed to be a nice guy. For his first show after his dinner, he was very respectful about our meeting. But with everything I have done in bringing our country back from total oblivion, why wouldn't he be? But then I noticed his show started to devolve into the same old story. Very boring anti-Trump, no mention of the perfect border, lowest crime in 125 years, the mass removal of stone-cold criminals, illegal aliens, the 50,000 Dow record, the 7,000 S&P, both highest ever, least number of murders since 1900, Venezuela, Midnight Hammer, Soleimani dead, al-Baghdadi dead, lowest inflation in years, 1.2% for the last 3 months, and rebuilding our military, 8 war stoppages, and on and on and on. In any event, it was a total waste of time for me to have this jerk at the White House. And last night, after explaining what a disaster Canadian leaders are to deal with, how Canada has ripped off the United States for years on trade, but not anymore, I jokingly stated in a Truth Social post that, quote, the first thing China will do is terminate all ice hockey being played in Canada and permanently eliminate the Stanley Cup. Well, Bill Maher went on and on about how the hockey statement, like What kind of a person would say such foolish thing as this, as though I were being serious when I said it? He can't take a joke. Fortunately, his television ratings are so low that nobody will learn about his various fake news statements about me, because nobody watches him. He is really no different than Kimmel, Fallon, or Colbert, but I must admit, slightly more talented. Anyway, Bill Maher is a highly overrated lightweight, and Republicans should stop using him to show how the left is coming over our way. Our base, the greatest of all time, laughs at your weakness when you do it. Bill Maher asked me if he could come back to the White House again, and with his friend also asked to come to the wonderful White House Christmas party. But he didn't. Regardless, I'd much rather spend my time making America great than wasting it on him. Bill Maher continues to suffer from a severe case of Trump derangement syndrome, TDS, and there was nothing that will ever be done to cure him of this very serious disease. Ladies and gentlemen, can I tell you something here? Let me tell you my own personal experience with Bill Maher, if you can even call it that. Anytime over the last year that I have attempted to use a little clip, 30-second clip, 45-second clip from the Bill Maher podcast, from the Bill Maher show, that really very few people watch, I put it in my video. I try to talk about it. You know what Bill Maher does? Bill Maher files a copyright strike on every single clip I have ever tried to use from his broadcast. Bill Maher doesn't want anybody talking about his show, adding commentary to his show or his podcast. It's like he doesn't want anybody talking about it. I've tried to use little clips, little, video segments from Bill Maher over the last year, and every single time Bill Maher files a copyright strike. Hey, stop talking about me. Hey, don't talk about me. Hey, don't talk about my podcast. Okay, well, this is probably why nobody's watching your podcast, Mr. Bill Maher. I think President Trump is right. It's because, I don't know, the guy, I think Trump is right. I think he does have some type of Trump derangement syndrome. Now, ladies and gentlemen, why don't we go ahead and talk about today's updates about the Save America Act? Because like we said, late last night, we got the confirmation that now officially we have the 50 votes needed to, in theory, push the Save America Act across the finish line and through the Senate, of course, after a talking filibuster has concluded. Suzanne Collins, we were all speculating, is Suzanne Collins, she's a rhino. What is she going to do? She's got TDS. What is she going to do? She actually came out and co-sponsored the Save America Act late last night. We have the 50 votes. Let's go. Now, earlier this morning, John Fetterman, Democrat Senator John Fetterman, made an appearance on Fox News. Here he is, talking about this Save America Act. Now, keep in mind, Fetterman has not co-signed or co-sponsored this bill. He's talking a lot about it, but he has yet to personally co-sponsor the bill. Well, let's see what he had to say this morning, okay?
Your guest pointed out, 84% of Americans have no idea with presenting IDs to vote. So it's not like a radical idea. It's not something, and there already are many states that show basic ID. So that's where we are in the Senate. So I would never refer to the SAVE Act as like Jim Crow 2.0 or some kinds of conspiracy. But that's part of the debate that we were having here in the Senate right now. And I don't call people names or imply that it's some kinds of things, something gross about the terrible history of like Jim Crow.
So you're not there on the Save America Act specifically just yet, but you're there on the principle of voter ID. Is that what I'm hearing?
What I'm saying, though, that states, whether it's like Georgia or other states, you have ID to vote. That's not a radical idea. Now, some people can agree or disagree on that, but it is not a radical idea. And many states already do that. And Wisconsin already ratified that in their constitution. Wisconsin elected a very liberal justice, and now almost 2-1. They voted to produce ID to vote and put it in their constitution. Wisconsin, you have Baldwin, very liberal, and Johnson, very conservative. I mean, that's part of the pull and push about the American democracy.
Senator, I want to ask you about a rising star.
Okay, listen, ladies and gentlemen, I have to be a little bit rude here. I need to be a little bit rude today. Listen, Fetterman, I've had it enough, man. I've had enough of it, brother. This guy has been talking about how voter ID is, you know, the vast majority of Americans want it. It makes sense. We need to have voter ID legislation. We should do this. But then he actually refuses to sign on and co-sponsor the Save America Act. This guy Fetterman right now, listen, I got to call him out. He's trying to have his cake and eat it too. He's going on Fox News, right-wing media, saying, hey, everybody, Fetterman here. I support voter ID laws. I support it. We got to do this. But then he doesn't go, he's not going so far as to actually co-sponsor the bill. He's trying to make everybody think he's so based. He's not like the other Democrats, but actually he is. Actually, he is, because when push comes to shove, he has not co-sponsored this thing. He's trying to have his cake and eat it too. Fetterman, shut up or put up or shut up. I'm sick of hearing Fetterman talk about how great voter ID is and how common sense it is. But then when it comes time to actually co-sponsor and vote for the thing, he neglects to do. He hasn't done it yet. Luckily, we don't need this guy. We already have our 50 votes, thanks to Suzanne Collins and all the other America First Republicans. We don't need him, but it's like, dude, I'm sick of giving this guy attention. He's just up here blabbing about, yeah, we got to do it. But then he doesn't contribute to making it happen. Had enough. I've had enough. I'm not going to let this guy have his cake and eat it too. Either vote for it or don't. Co-sponsor or don't. But you got to shut up about it. Now, we hear earlier today about what happens next. We have our 50 votes. What happens next? We hear from Scott Pressler similarly on Fox News earlier this morning. I think we're talking about the talking filibuster.
The opportunity to bring the Save America Act to the Senate floor for debate and allow any senators that are opposed to said legislation to tell the American people why they're against what 83% of Americans support. And that is, quote unquote, the talking filibuster. And so right now, we don't even have to nuke it. We have 50 senators that have announced support for the Save America Act. Bring it to the Senate floor for debate and discussion.
So let's tease this out. The standing filibuster, it's a clever idea because what it would force Democrats to do, it would force Chuck Schumer, it would force Cory Booker to stand on the Senate floor for hours and explain why they disagree with 84% of the American public. I believe we have that poll. We'll pull it up while you answer.
Amen. You're going to have Spartacus Cory Booker have to tell 76% of black Americans that he is against photo ID, which they support. He's going to have to tell 82% of Latino Americans why he is against photo voter ID. Like you just mentioned, this is an 80-20 issue. When have Americans ever agreed 83% on something? This would be a slam dunk for the American people. And actually, I argue that more people would vote in our elections, Kaylee, because they would finally have confidence that their votes are going to count this November.
So, Senator...
And it's a big deal. And you know what, like he says, this is what, 85% of Americans. I don't know, folks. Like I said, maybe I woke up on the bad side of the bed today. I've got an axe to grind here. I'm talking about Fetterman again. Listen, the fact that Fetterman is going up here and talking about how great the SAVE Act is, we need to vote for it, we need something like this, and then he neglects, he refuses to actually co-sponsor and vote for this thing. You know what? Listen, Fetterman, if you don't vote for this, when this thing hits the floor at the conclusion of this talking filibuster, which we all know is coming, Fetterman, if you don't vote for this thing, dude, when you're up for re-election here, it's 2028. In 2028, when you are up for re-election, Personally, I, Matt Morris, I will do every single thing I can to replace you with somebody else. I will do every single thing I can. I will go to war with Fetterman. I will get on a economy class ticket. I'll fly across the country to Pennsylvania. I'll go knock on doors. I'll make phone calls. I will donate money. I will dedicate broadcast after broadcast to replacing this guy. If this guy does not cut the talk and actually put action behind the talk, vote for this bill, vote for this act. Otherwise, I personally, and I hope all of us here will do everything we can to replace this guy. I'm sick of the talk. Action. We need action. Vote for it or you are out. Because keep in mind, when he's up for re-election here, it's going to be a tight race in Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania is what we call a swing state. Okay, back in 2022, when he first got voted in Pennsylvania, Fetterman here, he was running against Mehmet Oz, Dr. Oz, who's now part of the Trump administration. He only won by a 5-point margin. That's close. Fetterman only won in 2022 by a 5-point margin. Okay, that's not a dominant victory. That's a victory by the skin of his teeth here. He could be voted out. It's not a guarantee that he's going to maintain that Senate seat in 2 years. So he had better be sweating bullets here. Vote for this bill or you are out. I can promise you that. I will see to that. Now, there are a couple posts here on X that I want to talk about. These posts are going viral. They relate to the Save America Act. Let's keep the conversation going here right now. This one says, get ready, everyone. As soon as the Senate approves the SAVE Act and President Trump signs it into law, a progressive activist judge will declare it unconstitutional and block it. That is a fact. We know that's going to happen. Be prepared for that. Not if, but when the Save America Act is signed into effect, you know the Democrats are already preparing a lawfare battle. You know they've already got a judge picked out to try to shut this thing down. You know what they're going to do. The battle is just getting going. Every Democrat-led state will file lawsuit after lawsuit against it. When that initial ruling gets overturned on appeal, and it will, because the Save America Act is constitutional, then the Democrats will shop around for another judge, then another. They will keep going to try to shut this thing down. Their goal is to delay the Save America Act from being implemented nationwide until after the midterm elections. If all of that doesn't work, the governors in those states will ignore the ID requirement for voting. It's inevitable. I hope the Supreme Court is prepared to expedite this case as that is necessary. The Supreme Court, they've got to know that a storm is coming. A battle is coming in the aftermath of the signing of the Save America Act. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say something here because this is getting caught in the mix, caught in the fray. We need to be very articulate, very concise about really what is the major important component here of the Save America Act. It's actually not voter ID. Voter ID laws are not enough. And I'll tell you why. The reason why voter ID laws are not only not enough, but like in a way, kind of inconsequential, is because in every single blue state, they've been handing out photo IDs to illegal aliens. In the state of California, in the state of Michigan, in the state of Wisconsin, in the state of Minnesota, in Washington, in Maine, if you are an illegal alien in a sanctuary state, you are able to go into the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles, and get a photo ID, even though you are not a citizen. So if we nationally mandate, if we force, voters to show a photo ID before they vote, it kind of actually doesn't accomplish anything because millions of illegal aliens in this country have photo IDs. So there's a reason why the massive component of the Save America Act here is not just photo ID, it is proof of citizenship when registering to vote. Right now, across the country, in almost every single state, in 47 out of the 50 states, when you go and register to vote, you have to check a little box that says, I swear under perjury that I am a U.S. citizen. But you don't have to prove it. You just have to check a box. Amigo, I'm a U.S. citizen, right? But you can just lie. There's no fact checking. And it's very easy to lie about that. And we know that they have to the tune of millions of people. The big fundamental component of the Save America Act that is so important is what it would do is nationwide mandate that when you go in to register to vote, you have to present documentation proving, you can't lie about it, you have to prove it that you are an American citizen. That is why the Save America Act is so big. The photo ID component, frankly, is less important. because we know illegal aliens have photo IDs. I wish it wasn't the case, but it is. It's the proof of citizenship when registering to vote. That is what is so important about this. And that is why the Democrats are so absolutely panicked right now. There's a reason why the far left, the Democrats, have been fighting tooth and nail to shut this thing down. Seems like they have failed. There's another post here that's going viral today I want to read with you folks, but I just wanted to put everything here into perspective. A timeline is forming. Trump implements voter ID and proof of citizenship. Democrats are going to lose 2026 in a landslide. There will be a huge drop in Democrat turnout, illegals that had been voting but now are no longer able to vote. Democrat fraud is confirmed for all to see as a consequence of this series of events. Once the American public sees firsthand that the Democrats have been cheating in elections, accountability will be substantially easier for the public to swallow. Once we prove to the public that the Democrats are using illegal aliens to cheat in elections, then all of a sudden, the rest of their crimes are going to seem much more believable. That means the Democrats did leave the border open on purpose to import voters, which means the Democrats actually are guilty of treason, meaning Trump was right about everything. It will prove that the Democrats are indeed corrupt. It will discredit anything the Democrats have ever said. They will have zero credibility left. The public will no longer be able to deny it, that the Democrats are in fact corrupt. And much of the public will be demanding heads to roll, figuratively speaking, rightfully so. The 2026 election, midterms, shaping up to be the watershed moment in the information war. If we pull this off, the veil that hovers over the brainwashed public will be lifted, and justice for the corrupt establishment will actually become achievable. Arresting people is the easy part. Convincing the brainwashed masses, and I hate to say it, but a lot of Americans, generally on the left, they are in fact brainwashed. We're going to be able to convince the brainwashed masses to accept high-profile arrests of people that they have been conditioned to trust. And getting them to accept the harsh reality that they have been deceived, that is the hardest part. The hardest part is convincing the brainwashed, generally speaking, left-leaning masses that they have been duped, they have been deceived, they have been lied to. They have been made to be useful idiots for the left-wing progressive establishment. It's tough. Listen, people don't like to be told that they've been lied to or deceived. But what we need to do now is present them with undeniable proof and evidence that in fact they have, so much so that they won't be able to engage in any sort of copium or cope that they have been lied to by their elected leaders. That's the battle. It is an info war. It is an information war, undeniably so. And so that's where we are right now. That's the battle that's kind of taking place behind the scenes here. Big things are happening every single day. Now, I've got another story here I want to share with you folks. Everyone here, do me a favor. Before we talk about, this is where we get to some of the big major stories over the show. Do me a favor. Make sure to subscribe, follow, hit that like button on Rumble and on YouTube. Everyone, thank you for being here. I've got some big news to share with you folks here today. Ladies and gentlemen, the Trump administration has just pulled the plug on one of the biggest anti-American scams in the entire country, really in all of United States history. Ladies and gentlemen, take a look at this. Breaking news. President Trump's Small Business Association has officially, as of this morning, banned non-citizens from getting SBA loans effective March 1st. So, surprise, non-citizens in this country have been getting SBA loans. I think a lot of people didn't know that, but yes, they have been. These are loans that should be reserved for Americans attempting to open small businesses. But in fact, foreigners, non-citizens, have been coming into our country and taking up all of these SBA loans. There's a finite number of money every year allocated to these loans. Every SBA loan that's given to a non-citizen is an SBA loan that is therefore not given to an American citizen. looking to open up a business. So this is absolutely shocking. The reason why, let's put this into perspective here, ladies and gentlemen. The reason why pretty much every single gas station, convenience store, and hotel, and other businesses, but these are the big three in the country, is owned and operated by foreigners is because these SBA diversity loans that have been getting abused and taken advantage of by non-citizen foreigners for decades now. Have you ever walked into a hotel and said, doesn't look like Americans own this business, or a gas station or a convenience store? I think we've all kind of noticed what's going on here, to say the least. Then, once an SBA, but it gets even worse. Listen to this. Then, once one of these SBA diversity loans is given to a non-citizen from a foreign country and the business is open and operational, then these foreigners abuse the chain migration process to give work visas to all of their family members back in India or wherever else. So, foreigner comes in the country, gets an SBA loan that should be going to an American business owner, but instead is going to a non-citizen. The non-citizen takes that SBA loan from an American, opens up a business. Then now that they have a business in America, they start employing all of their relatives back across the country, back across the planet in the third world, bring them over as employees. And this is the process that's been going on for decades now. So now these loans, as of Trump's edict today, these loans are officially reserved henceforth for Americans only, meaning that one, Americans are no longer getting skipped over in favor of foreign scammers. Two, this actually takes a massive bite out of chain migration. Now we are officially stopping one of the big ways in which third world immigrants have been sneaking into the country through these SBA business loan scams, really. So we're shutting that down as well. And also, in my opinion, this is what it looks like to put America first. Because really, when you think about it, what does it mean to put America first? It means we need to put Americans first. And that is exactly what is happening right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was a big story that I saw today. I wanted to break that down with you, but I've got an even bigger story. You thought that was a big deal. We have an even bigger deal. Ladies and gentlemen, you're going to like this one. Ladies and gentlemen, the DOGE, the Doge, that's right, the Department of Government Efficiency, has just hours ago this morning dropped an absolute bombshell, pretty much exposing all of the Medicaid welfare fraud that has been taking place across this entire country for decades now, by the way. In fact, take a look at this. Here it is. This is from the official Doge HHS page. They posted this morning a couple hours ago. Today, the HHS Doge team open sourced the largest Medicaid data set in department history. This data set contains aggregated provider-level claims data for specific billing code over time. For example, check this out. Using this data set that has now been released by the Department of Government Efficiency, it would have been possible to easily detect large-scale fraudulent autism diagnoses in Minnesota, like we've been seeing over the last couple months. You can download the data for yourself. And so, ladies and gentlemen, here's the deal. For the last several hours, since this information has been made public earlier this morning, massive Medicaid fraud data set, it's been released to the public. Patriotic Americans have now been scouring through this data, and already what they have found just in the last couple hours is, frankly, absolutely insane. For instance, take a look at this now publicly available internal report that has been released this morning alongside the data set. This one dates back to 2012, and now we are seeing this in the public for the very first time. Well, let's talk about what this 2012 report that has now been disclosed. Let's take a look at what it says. Of the $4.5 trillion of healthcare spending, 20% in 2012 was determined to be fraudulent at a minimum. This report from 2012 said actually the amount of fraud was probably more than 20%. This is over $1 trillion in fraud, more than the entire Defense Department or Social Security, just in healthcare fraud. And once again, this report is from 2012 during the Obama administration, and they privately kept this quiet. They never released it to all of us actual Americans until now. Now we have the internal reports, the internal data. The examples of fraud in this report are hilariously and insanely obvious. This is why healthcare is so expensive and inefficient in this country. Why? Because at a minimum, 1 out of every $5 being spent on healthcare in this country is fraudulent. 20%, that's 1 out of 5. This is absolutely insane. And so, folks, if this is how bad things were 14 years ago in 2012, you can just imagine how bad things are now in 2026. If the fraud in 2012 with Medicaid was for every $5 spent, $1 was fraudulent, 20%, imagine how bad it's gotten since then. We might be looking at a case here where, I don't know, 50% of Medicaid dollars being spent in Medicaid is fraudulent. I don't know. But what's even worse is that in all of this time, where all of this fraud has been known and documented internally, no one has ever done anything to shut down all of the fraud and waste that we're now being exposed to, that we're now all being made aware of. It has gone completely ignored and unanswered for decades now. That is, until President Trump got back in the White House and decided to actually deploy the fine gentleman down at the Department of Government Efficiency. Now we are finally putting America first. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was another bombshell expose that came out today. But now, here's what I would like to do, ladies and gentlemen. Like I said, Marco Rubio made a trip over to Europe. He gave a speech at the Munich Security Council. Why don't we go ahead and talk about what was said in Europe this morning? Ladies and gentlemen, Secretary of State Marco Rubio was in Europe earlier this morning at the Munich Security Council, and I am not joking when I say this, but pretty much he just got up on stage in front of hundreds, perhaps even thousands of anti-American globalists from around the world and absolutely cooked all of them. If you don't believe me, go ahead and take a look at this. I think you are going to like it.
For 5 centuries before the end of the Second World War, the West had been expanding. Its missionaries, its pilgrims, its soldiers, its explorers pouring out from its shores to cross oceans, settle new continents, build vast empires extending out across the globe. But in 1945, for the first time since the age of Columbus, it was contracting. Europe was in ruins. Half of it lived behind an iron curtain, and the rest looked like it would soon follow. The great Western empires had entered into terminal decline, accelerated by godless communist revolutions and by anti-colonial uprisings that would transform the world and drape the red hammer and sickle across vast swaths of the map in the years to come.
That's right.
Against that backdrop, then as now, many came to believe that the West's age of dominance had come to an end, and that our future was destined to be a faint and feeble echo of our past. But together, our predecessors recognized that decline was a choice, and it was a choice they refused to make. This is what we did together once before, and this is what President Trump and the United States want to do again now, together with you. And this is why we do not want our allies to be weak, because that makes us weaker. We want allies who can defend themselves so that no adversary will ever be tempted to test our collective strength. This is why we do not want our allies to be shackled by guilt and shame. We want allies who are proud of their culture and of their heritage, who understand that we are heirs to the same great and noble civilization, and who together with us are willing and able to defend it.
Real quick, what is Marco Rubio saying right now? He is in a roundabout, very polite way. He's calling all of these European countries weak and feeble and totally incapable of taking care of themselves. And you know what? He's absolutely right.
And this is why we do not want allies to rationalize the broken status quo rather than reckon with what is necessary to fix it. For we in America have no interest in being polite and orderly caretakers of the West's managed decline. We do not seek to separate, but to revitalize an old friendship and renew the greatest civilization in human history. What we want is a reinvigorated alliance that recognizes that what has ailed our societies is not just a set of bad policies, but a malaise of hopelessness and complacency.
That's right.
An alliance is the alliance that we want is one that is not paralyzed into inaction by fear. Fear of climate change, fear of war, fear of technology. Instead, we want an alliance that boldly races into the future. And the only fear we have is the fear of the shame of not leaving our nations prouder, stronger, and wealthier for our children. An alliance ready to defend our people, to safeguard our interests, and to preserve the freedom of action that allows us to shape our own destiny. Not one that exists to operate a global welfare state and atone for the purported sins of past generations. An alliance that does not allow its power to be outsourced, constrained, or subordinated to systems beyond its control. One that does not depend on others for the critical necessities of its national life. And one that does not maintain the polite pretense that our way of life is just one among many, and that asks for permission before it acts. And above all, an alliance based on the recognition that we, the West, have inherited together. What we have inherited together is something that is unique and distinctive and irreplaceable. Because this, after all, is the very foundation of the transatlantic bond.
And also, I will add, by the way, hell of a speech. I might add, we have something that is worth preserving. We are unique. We are special. We have our own culture. We have our own heritage. All of us Western world nations, we are worth preserving. And there is no shame in standing up and sticking up for ourselves, for our own best interest, and saying as such, we do not want to fade away into the bygone pages of a history book. We are worth preserving. And so, folks, what is he saying? What are we talking about here? Marco Rubio came out today. He said, this era of never-ending shame for being an American, or shame for being a European, or shame for being from a Western civilized country in the Western world, or even shame for being white. That era has officially come to an end now that President Trump is back in the White House. American pride, European pride, Western pride. Let's take pride in who we are, because what we are is something special and is something unique. And that is how we expect to move forward. That is how we are moving forward from here on out. That era of shame and guilt is officially behind us. But that's not all. You see, then Marco Rubio went on to pretty much tell all of these globalist bureaucrats that they need to step up to the plate and actually contribute their fair share, which they do. Take a listen to this.
No longer place the so-called global order above the vital interests of our people and our nations. We do not need to abandon the system of international cooperation we authored, and we don't need to dismantle the global institutions of the old order that together we built. But these must be reformed. These must be rebuilt. For example, the United Nations still has tremendous potential to be a tool for good in the world, but we cannot ignore that today, on the most pressing matters before us, it has no answers and has played virtually no role. It could not solve the war in Gaza. Instead, it was American leadership that freed captives from barbarians and brought about a fragile truce. It has not solved the war in Ukraine. It took American leadership in partnership with many of the countries here today just to bring the two sides to the table in search of a still elusive peace. It was powerless to constrain the nuclear program of radical Shia clerics in Tehran. That required 14 bombs dropped with precision from American B-2 bombers. And it was unable to address the threat to our security from a narco-terrorist dictator in Venezuela. Instead, it took American special forces to bring this fugitive to justice. In a perfect world, all of these problems and more would be solved by diplomats and strongly worded resolutions. But we do not live in a perfect world. And we cannot continue to allow those who blatantly and openly threaten our citizens and endanger our global stability to shield themselves behind abstractions of international law which they themselves routinely violate. This is the path that President Trump and the United States has embarked upon. It is the path we ask you here in Europe to join us on. It is a path we have walked together before and hope to walk together again.
So, folks, what he's talking about here is that European leadership needs to stop being so castrated. That's the first word that comes to mind, to be honest. And I think that is a fair description. We need to bring back the era of honor and pride and taking pride and respecting our own ancestry and our own culture. That's a big component of what we're talking about here. But also, he said something else. Here's the fact of the matter. Here's the truth. If Europe doesn't stop all of this third world migration into their continent, into their countries, just as we have now done here, we have put a stop to it in our own country here. Well, I hate to say it, but in the very near future, we will not have a Europe anymore. Europe will effectively devolve and deteriorate into nothing more than a third world caliphate. And I think in a lot of ways, we have already seen that happening. In fact, Marco Rubio talks about this right here. Take a listen.
Mass migration isn't some fringe concern of little consequence. It was and continues to be a crisis which is transforming and destabilizing societies all across the West.
Mass migration into the West is destabilizing these countries. Let me ask you folks a question here. Can you name a single country on the face of the planet that is tangibly, materially, economically, in any single way, gotten better as a result of mass migration from the third world? No, you can't. And by the way, we have conducted this experiment of mass third world migration in, 30 or 35 different countries. Every single European country, Canada, the United States, hell, even Japan tried it. Has this worked out? Has this gone well anywhere in any of the 30 or 35 different countries that we have tried this? No. Okay, we need to stop. It is time to stop. Now, ladies and gentlemen, what Marco Rubio just said about Europe actually ties back, what he said about migration in Europe actually ties back and relates to something that just took place over here in the USA just yesterday afternoon. In case you missed it, one of Trump's senior ranking State Department appointees, a guy by the name of Jeremy Carl, senior ranking member in the State Department right now in the Trump administration, just spoke to some of the Senate Democrats yesterday afternoon about the Trump administration's stance on race and on migration. And so, because it ties into this entire conversation, ladies and gentlemen, take a listen to this.
A year ago, were white Americans the most discriminated against group in the United States? You said it. So
yeah. Senator, no, certainly this is my belief. I'm not running away from that. I think that while, of course, all races in different contexts can be subject to really severe discrimination, that when we look at our legal structures, white Americans are often very disfavored in overt ways. We're seeing this in the Small Business Administration, many other places.
So your belief is that white Americans face more discrimination, at least prior to the Trump administration fixing this, than black Americans?
On average, Senator, yes, that's correct, and I'm not running away from that statement at all.
He didn't even walk it back. He doubled down, he tripled down. He said, yeah, duh, obviously. And so, folks, we all know, by the way, everyone with half a brain knows that what Jeremy Carl here said is absolutely correct. White Americans have been institutionally and legislatively discriminated against in this country, the United States, for decades now. And if you want a couple examples of what this looks like, in case any of you have forgotten, how about racially based university scholarships? How about racially based university enrollment quotas? Affirmative action, which has now been deemed unconstitutional by the Supreme Court, by the way. How about racially based hiring practices in the form of diversity, equity, and inclusion, which has now been gutted, thank God, because of President Trump? How about racially based workplace promotional opportunities? How about racially based low-income housing loans or housing opportunities? Hell, we even had racially based small business loans, all of which were explicitly designed to discriminate against who? Against white people. So yeah, everything that Jeremy Carl here said is absolutely true. Seriously, I think many people don't really understand or grasp just how much anti-white discrimination there has been in this country for decades now. In fact, anybody that ever talked about it, they were immediately beat down and said, hey, stop noticing these things. You're a racist. Listen, we're done with this. We are done with this. We are bringing back the meritocracy. We are done with this. With all of this anti-white racism, shut it down. And thank God for that too. But also, there's been a let's be honest, there's been a very explicitly anti-white immigration policy in this country for quite a while now as well. And we talk about that here. Jeremy Carl talks about that anti-white immigration policy. Take a look at this.
What do you mean when you say that you believe in the Great Replacement theory?
Senator, thank you for that question. This refers to the intentional demographic replacement of Europeans in Europe. It was invented by Renaud Camus, who was a French scholar.
Does it seem like that's been happening? Yeah, it sure does.
You think there's an active effort to, quote unquote, replace Americans right now?
Senator, I think the Democratic Party, through its immigration policies, has certainly shown signs of that.
And I don't understand that. So you are saying that if more Americans are Black or Latino Americans, that somehow weakens America because it puts whites in a minority.
So, folks, we have a very curious dynamic here. It seems as if you are only allowed to acknowledge this replacement, if you will, of white Europeans or white Americans in their own countries, in the countries that they have built, which is very clearly taking place. It seems like you're only allowed to acknowledge this replacement phenomenon if you're celebrating it. But the second you say, wait a minute, it seems like white people are being replaced in their own countries, and I think that's a bad thing, then suddenly that's racist. Suddenly there's a massive problem. In fact, take a listen to this. This is a clip from Bill Clinton in the year 2001, 25 years ago.
In a little more than 50 years, there will be no majority race in the United States. No other nation.
So this clip is 25 years old. You've got Bill Clinton, and there are just dozens of clips like this with Democrats, members of the far left, saying this, bragging about it, touting this out. Soon there will be no white majority in Europe or in the US. And they talk about it as a good thing. And if you say that this replacement here is a good thing, then everybody claps and it's awesome and there's a round of applause in the audience. But if a member of the Trump administration, right here, Mr. Jeremy Carl of the State Department, if he comes up here and says, hey, yeah, it seems like that is happening and I think it's a bad thing, then suddenly, oh my God, you're a racist. How dare you even notice that? You're only allowed to notice it if you're saying it's a great, awesome thing. But if you're saying, hey, I don't like this, hey, I'm not sure this is a good idea, then suddenly we have a big problem. But ladies and gentlemen, now that President Trump is back in the White House, as you can very clearly see, this era of anti-white discrimination has very clearly come to an end, or at a minimum is on the cusp of completely coming to an end. And thank God for that. America first. Now, ladies and gentlemen, at this point in the show, what I would love to do is take a look at our Rumble rants and our super chats. Do me a favor, folks. If you're new to this community, first off, hey, happy Valentine's Day. I hope everybody is going to have a great Valentine's Day. Do me a favor, hit that like button. Before you forget, you need to do it right now. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the show. Make sure to follow on Rumble everywhere. But let me go ahead and pull up these super chats. Once again, thank you all for being here on this lovely Saturday. A lot of news today, a lot of very good news, frankly. A lot of very good developments are taking place in this country. That shutting down those SBA loans, like we talked about, for non-citizens, man, massive, great news. The DOGE exposing all that Medicaid fraud, massive. Thank God for that. We are plugging away. We're moving in the right direction here. And speaking of moving in the right direction, I officially have my super chats ready to go. All right, ladies, hold up. Hold that thought. I need to change my wardrobe here. All right. Okay, now we're ready to go. Now we're ready to go. I'm in a good mood today. Okay, we have first super chat of the day is from an individual named Johnny McCammon. Johnny McCammon says, hello from Missouri, the great state of Missouri. Thank you very much, sir. Welcome to the show. First super chat of the day. Shout out everyone from the great state of Missouri. All the Missouri folks. Thank you very much, sir. We have a Rumble rant from Deluxe Knight. He says, racially based financial aid at colleges. I experienced it myself. Two of my friends, Asian and Black, both got $1,700 and $600 for books, and I was denied. All of us had parents' incomes in the same income bracket. Yeah, I mean, we have known that this has been going on for decades. I think affirmative action was first implemented in the early 90s. Correct me if I'm wrong. And now, yeah, the Supreme Court got involved and said, yeah, this is racist and this is unconstitutional. Affirmative action is dead. But the Supreme Court only took out that case because Trump pushed it. The Trump administration pushed it to the Supreme Court. Another W for Trump and the Trump administration. Shut it down. Thank God. Thank God. Okay, we have another super chat here. Muscle Gamers says, wish we had some law and order in South Africa and also a great president like President Trump. Great work, Matt. Keep up the excellent work. Morse Force. Okay, my message every time I have a South African viewer, by the way, I was looking at the stats the other day, a good 2 or 3% of the people tuning into this broadcast every day are from South Africa. 2 or 3% of you guys in the audience here are South African. Can you believe that? So first off, shout out to South Africans. I'll tell you something though. If I was a white person living in South Africa, I would immediately take up President Trump on this refugee program, on this asylee program. I would move to the U.S. in a heartbeat. You can do it. Trump opened it up. I would take him up on that offer. I would come over to the U.S. And honestly, of course, I can't speak for every American, but these white Boer South African farmers, these white South Africans, there is a genuine genocide against you guys. We all know that's the case. I personally welcome these people into the country. They seem like good, hardworking, respectful, civil people. It seems like they're assimilating. I saw a big plane of South Africans, these white South Africans step off the plane. They were waving American flags. When do you see that? We've got other immigrants coming in the country, waving Mexican flags, waving Palestinian flags. These white South Africans, they are waving American flags. Love to see that. I would bring them in. So, hey, you didn't ask for my advice, but I would say, hey, listen, come on in. Come on. It seems like good people. The Afrikaners, right? Maybe, I don't know. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Ruby Hoob says, God bless Trump. And everyone in the audience, happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Mwah! To everyone in the audience, a big smooch to everyone in the audience. Don't tell my wife. We have a super chat here from Ruby Hoob again. She says, Fetterman won't vote for this bill. I won't vote for Fetterman. Like I said, scorched earth on Fetterman. Listen, bro, he's in a swing state. He only had a 5-point margin in 2022. When he's up for re-election here in 2028, they've got a 6-year term in the Senate. Push him out. Listen, Fetterman, you either vote for this bill. I'm not going to forget about this. Hey, Fetterman, I'm not going to forget about this, and I don't think anybody else here is. Vote for the bill, or we are coming for you. We're going to primary you out, or not even primary. We will general you out. Once you're in a runoff against a Republican, you're getting kicked out, buddy. Okay, vote for this bill, or you're getting kicked out. Thank you very much, Ruby. Accountability. We have, oh my good Lord, a $200 super chat from Raya and her husband, Finn. Happy Valentine's Day to you two lovebirds. Thank you very much. She says, thank you, Matt. Happy Valentine's Day to you, your wife and family in Argos from Finn and I. We are truly blessed with much. God bless you, the great Morse Force patriots and friends here, President Trump, and God bless America. Happy Valentine's Day to you and Finn. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And all of the lovebirds in the audience today, thank you. That's a massive amount of support. I can't even believe it. I don't even deserve it. Thank you very much. Very generous. God bless you. God bless you and Finn and your dog and everybody else. Thank you very much. Massive. You just blew my socks off. I don't even have socks on anymore. I don't know where they went. Thank you very much. Thank you. We have a super chat from Matt. Thank you very much, Matt. I appreciate that. Smart guy. Smart guy. I can tell. His name is Matt. I can tell he's a smart guy. We have a super chat from Barry. He says, hi, Matt. I think we need to have a national referendum. What do you say? Well, we do. We did. We have a national referendum every 4 years. It's called a presidential election. And the referendum just about a year and a half ago, was pretty damn conclusive. The American people in this referendum, we decided that we no longer want an open border. We decided that we do want mass deportations. We decided that we wanted reciprocal trade tariffs and to re-domesticate American manufacturing and bring back jobs. We decided that we wanted to drill, baby, drill and open up the American energy infrastructure. We have a referendum. Every presidential election, that's kind of how I look at it. That is, in effect, a referendum. And the American people, we decided. Overwhelmingly so, I will add. Overwhelmingly so. Thank you very much, Barry. We got another one here. Kind of a referendum here in about 9 or 10 months. We call it midterms. We'll see what happens. We have a super chat here from Stacy. $50 super chat. Thank you very much, Stacy. Oh, look at this. Look at this. She says, I'm from Pittsburgh. She says, I pray, that's Pennsylvania. I pray Fetterman will end up voting for the Save America Act, but I would like him to stand up and say, I don't want to because my party will turn against me if I vote. Common sense to put them on blast. Oh, if he got up and said, hey, listen, I want to vote for it, but I can't because the Democrats are going to eat me alive. Either way, listen, I hope he does both. Vote for it, say that, blow the whistle on what's going on here, the pressure, whatever, the threats or whatever they're levying against him. Put them on blast and then also vote for it anyway. Do both. Do both. Listen, I am sick of cowards in Congress, in Senate, and in the House of the Representatives that are afraid to vote their conscience, what they know is best for this country, because of a little bit of pressure from their party or the opposite party. Listen, we have no room for cowards in the Senate at this point or in the House of Representatives. Vote what you need to do. The fate of the republic is at stake. America first. Let's make it happen. No excuses. I'm sick of the excuses, Stacy. Thank you very much, Stacy. Thank you very much, ma'am. Massive super chat. I really appreciate that. We have another super chat here from Matt. He says, Donald Trump is my guy. Stopping fraud. Great show. You know, we're chipping away at it. We're chipping away. He's like sitting here whittling. He's whittling away, you know. He's not taking a hatchet and chopping the stick in half. He's whittling away the bad parts, the rotted parts. Every day, a little bit more. He's got his pocket knife out. And you know what? That's the way to do it. Good for him. And he is doing it. What matters is that he is, in fact, doing that. That's what we want to see. Super chat here from the Michigan guy. He says, do you think that we will have to re-register to vote? I would suppose so. I bet so. I think so. Ladies and gentlemen, to be very clear, if the Save America Act passes through, I think most Americans, not all, but most Americans, Democrat and Republican alike, you're going to have to re-register to vote and prove that you're a citizen. That is probably coming. But you know what? You know what I call that? I consider that to be my patriotic obligation. If that's what it takes to make sure that our elections are safe and secure, is I've got to go down to the post office or city, town hall, whatever, and show my birth certificate or my EDL, my extended driver's license or enhanced driver's license or my passport to show that I'm a citizen. You know what? I got to take an hour or 2 hours out of my afternoon. I'll do that. I will do that. I think I can manage to do that. So be it. If that's what it takes to have safe and secure elections, okay, I will do that. No problem. So yeah, but yeah, I would expect that to be the case. We have a super chat here from, where was I? James Mitchell. Shout out Mr. Mitchell. Welcome back to the show. I never forget a name. He says, as always, great show, Matt. Happy Valentine's Day. Happy Valentine's Day. Mwah! A big kiss to everybody here. Thank you very much. What can I say? I'm a little Cupid. I'm a little Cupid today. What can I say? Thank you very much, Mr. Mitchell. Thank you very much. We have Ruby Hoov again, says, Trump promised he is delivering. Proud to be an American. Proud to be an American. Thank you very much, Ruby. Thank you again. We have Just Chad. He says, great to hear a voice of optimism. You know, I'm not trying to brag here like I'm actually depressed about this. Ironically, there aren't many voices of optimism these days. Have you noticed? It has become increasingly popular, increasingly financially lucrative for right-wing commentators to get up here on their show in front of thousands of people and get up here and say, it's over, Trump is a failure, Trump is a loser, MAGA is dead, the country's cooked, it's over, the republic is over, it's dead. We just have to roll over and accept defeat. Yeah, I'm not doing that. Yeah, listen, I'm not doing that. And by the way, I don't even think that's true. Like, obviously, that's not even true. So, I don't know. I think a lot of people, a lot of commentators or whatever, have been going down that path because, as you might have noticed, I don't know, misery loves company. There's a lot of viewers. There's a lot of money to be made. The view count goes up. The money going into the bank account goes up. So they do it. They have a financial incentive to do that, I guess. But I just don't. That's just obviously not the case. I don't believe that's the case. I'm speaking out of my own, seriously held beliefs here every single day. I'm not putting up a front. Thank you very much, sir. Now, where did we leave off? We had a super chat here from Justin. He says, we just found out about fraudulent trucking companies. Yeah, we talked about that yesterday, remember? In my humble opinion, when all is said and done, we will find tens of trillions of dollars of fraud, possibly enough to pay for, I'm not sure what, but also shout out Decoy. I saw Decoy in the chat earlier on. Yeah, hey, Decoy, if you are still here, shout out Decoy voice. I don't know, man. Listen, what percentage of our national debt, what is it like? What do we have? Like $40 trillion of national debt? 40 trillion, 39 trillion, whatever it is. It's a lot. How much of that is a direct consequence of fraud? Half of it? All of it? I don't know. A lot of it. It's depressing to think about. Regardless though, we've got to shut down the fraud. We have to shut it down. TRD Draco, thank you, sir. Thank you for being a part of the show. J.R. Williams says, universal mail-in ballots in key swing states, same-day absentee ballot fraud, and unlimited day voting is how they stole the 20 election. Yep, that's right. Thank you, Mr. Williams. At a minimum, listen, to a certain degree, mandating and requiring proof of citizenship to register should in some way help with that. It's not going to, that's insofar as mail-in ballots go, this bill does not completely solve that problem, but it is a step in the right direction also. It does shut down almost entirely absentee ballots though, which is different than mail-in ballots. Muscle Gamers, again, thank you very much. Don't forget to leave a like on the stream. True. Excellent, man. Excellent point. Excellent reminder. Everybody's got to like the broadcast. True. Thank you very much. Based MFK says, what did you say? Hey, man, been feeling awful lately. Body and mind and bad political news makes it worse. Glad you bring a podcast. Brad, sorry, I don't know how to speak English. Sorry, I don't know how to speak any language. Glad you bring the honest, positive, and hopeful view on the current administration. Only 4 more years till 20 to retire. It's just got to keep on going. Well, hey, feel better. Take care of yourself for the physical stuff, for the mental stuff. You know what I'm going to tell you for all you guys that are consuming all of this black pill, doom and gloom, depressing political content. Listen, I am now instituting a new rule. I am now prohibiting all of you from watching any other political podcasts other than this one. Now you are all forbidden from watching any other content other than me, okay? Problem solved. Hey, problem solved. There we go. Out of sight, out of mind. It's all bullcrap anyway. Just keep on coming back here. Problem solved. Out of sight. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But no, listen, the point is, I'm joking, obviously, but the point is, you got to be careful. Listen, the human state of mind is very easily influenced. Have you ever listened to a bunch of sad music? You're in a good mood, and then you turn on some sad music, and then you start feeling kind of sad. And you say, man, I don't even have anything to be sad about. What's going on? That's the music, right? You can be influenced by this stuff. You listen to happy music, you're going to be a little bit happier, you know? And I think the same thing for some of these podcasts, for some of these videos, whatever you're watching, right? It can have kind of this like deep psychological impact. If you listen to a bunch of doom and gloom, depressing black pill stuff, you might end up thinking that way. And the problem is, it's not even based in reality. It's bullshit. It's bullshit. So, sorry. Sorry. Pardon my language. I apologize. Thank you very much. Thank you. Andy Finsterwald, one of my favorites. He says, Marco really did smoke him gracefully. I watched the whole episode and he got a standing ovation. Awesome. So I didn't even see the standing ovation. I'm surprised considering who the audience was, who was in the audience, but that's even better. No, Marco Rubio's been killing it, you know. I'll tell you what, Marco Rubio has already publicly gone on the record saying that if J.D. Vance wants to run to become president in 2028, Rubio is not going to press him. He's not going to push him. He will step aside and let Vance, you know, try to become president. Now, maybe Rubio wants to be vice president. Maybe he wants to continue on in the Vance administration as Secretary of State. Personally, I'm not sure if I would even want to see Rubio as president. I think he's one of these guys. He is perfect exactly where he is. Just keep him in the very same position in the Vance administration. If that's what's up next, Vance, go ahead and maintain Rubio as Secretary of State and all the other 100 jobs he has. Just let him keep doing his thing. I have a similar opinion for Tulsi Gabbard. I don't really want a Tulsi Gabbard presidency, but I like Tulsi Gabbard, and I think she's a great, impeccable director of national intelligence. Just keep her on as the DNI. She's exactly where she needs to be. Keep her where she is. Problem solved, right? It's good. It's a good position for her. So that's my opinion. Thank you, Andy. Good to see you. Happy Saturday. We have a super chat from Johnny McCammon. Again, he says, the USA is not the whole world's personal enforcer. Europe has been treating us that way. Finally, they're getting a little pushback. Thank God. Thank you very much. You're right. You're right. Sweets has a super chat, $50. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. That's a massive amount of support. Thank you. What does our beloved Sweets have to say? She says, thank you for keeping on task about America and not all of the distractions. This is another thing, man. I'm sorry. I find myself talking about this more and more, and I don't like to. Permission to talk about a little distraction real quick. This is another thing that all the other podcasters are doing these days. They're talking about, it's nothing but interpersonal beef and drama. Hey guys, today we're going to talk about this drama that I have with Tucker Carlson, and I'm mad at Candace Owens, and today I'm mad at, Tim Pool because they said something I don't like. A lot of these shows at this point, it is, you're right. It is just nothing but distractions. They're not even talking about the news or the politics or the political implications of the news. It is just like political gossip. It's just drama. It's just bullshit. I don't like it. So I'm sorry. I know I just kind of did that. I know. But, I'm just not really into it. Everybody else is doing that. I just want to talk about the politics. I just want to talk about the news and the political implications. That is what I am focused on. So, okay, enough of that. Thank you very much, Sweets. I appreciate that. We're doing our show, our way. We're talking about the news. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much. We've got Slick Rick. Thank you, sir. He says, crazy that Bill Maher crazy that Bill Maher copyrights you because secular talk covers him all the time and attacks him from the left, but he never gets a copy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that. Thank you for telling me that. It's curious. No, there's a couple of these. After doing this for a year, I've realized I do not use Bill Maher clips anymore. He files copy strikes. I do not use what's his name? What's his name? Why am I he's Colbert. I don't use Colbert clips anymore because he files copy strikes also. There's some of these left-wing talk show hosts, they are so eager and happy and aggressive with their copyright strikes. They do not want people like me. Maybe it's people on the right. They don't want people like me adding commentary or breaking down some of the stuff they do. They get mad about it. They try to shut it down. All right, I know what's going on here. Thank you very much. I didn't know that. Thank you. Ruby Hoove with another one. Ruby, this is like the 50th super chat of the day. Ruby is going crazy today. She says, America first, helping the rest of the world if they respect the USA. That's true. Listen, America is a generous nation, but you got to show some respect and you got to show some appreciation. God bless everyone here. She says, thank you very much, Ruby. Thank you. Again, we have Pamud Boosters. PamUDBusters.com. I'm hopefully PamUDBusters.com. Thank you very much for the super chat. I appreciate that. Shout out. I don't even know what that is, but thank you very much. Thank you. Rosa de Arment. One of my favorites, one of the goats of the community. $100 super chat. She says, great show. Happy Valentine's Day to you and your family. I haven't even talked about this. My wife tonight, we have a reservation at a nice restaurant in town. I'm not going to be here tonight anyway because I said my mom is in town. So tonight, my mom is going to take care of the kids. We have a date night, Mr. Morris and Mrs. Morris. We have a date night, just the two of us. I'll tell you something funny. We've been married for 5 years, five and a half years. I think in our 5.5-year-long marriage, we have had probably 5 date nights. And the reason why is because we've got young kids. We're taking care of the kids. It's tough to get have somebody take care of the kids, get a babysitter, have the grandma come over. I think we average 1 date night per year. So tonight is a very special night. Very special night, okay? This will be our 5th official date night. We're going out to a restaurant. Thank you very much, Rose. I appreciate that. Likewise, similarly, back at you. Happy Valentine's Day to all the lovebirds out there. Thank you very much. It's a special day. Whoops. And we have a super chat from J.R. Williams. He says, Matt, according to the Microsoft executive, AI in 18 months will replace most white-collar jobs. Why is Trump bringing in hundreds of thousands of H-1Bs still? You know what? I am happy you asked about the H-1B thing. I've been talking about this for 2 weeks. One of these days, I want to do an entire show or a segment of a show dedicated to the H-1B visa because this is slipping under the radar. It's a very complex topic. The Trump administration is effectively, right now, they have been for about 12 months, the Trump administration has been legislatively strangling the H-1B system. They have been. Trump has taken a huge bite out of H-1B visas, and no one has really properly covered this or broken this down in a way that I consider to be adequate. So I might have to be the guy to do it. We might have to do a segment of a show dedicated to H-1Bs and the various ways in which Trump has been strangling out the H-1B visa system because he has. So thank you for the reminder. I want to do that. But talking about AI, different point, talking about AI replacing white-collar jobs, I'm frankly, I'm not sure what to think about AI and the degree to which it's going to be replacing certain jobs. I read an article about probably 6 or 7 weeks ago saying that now big tech is kind of like dooming and glooming on AI, and that now everybody is actually kind of depressed about AI. All these tech bros, they are depressed about AI because it's not going to deliver this revolution or renaissance that they had all initially expected, that now all of them are kind of blackpilling on AI, that it's not going to be as transformative as they had thought. So we'll look into that. We'll peel back the layers on that. I also want to do a big H-1B expose broadcast because the Trump administration, they have been shutting it down. Not shutting it down, but slowly strangling it out, doing the best they can. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. I want to make sure I haven't missed anything here. Robin Hood's Arrow with one gifted Rumble Premium. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir. Hey, yeah, like and subscribe. Good reminder, like and subscribe. Now, have I missed anything else? This is user Itan Miaz. He says, love your show, Matt. So happy to see someone of your generation with some common sense. Keep fighting the good fight. God bless, brother. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Hey, somebody's got to have common sense around here. If it's not us, then I don't know who. Thank you. Thank you very much. Super chat here from Lil Ray. Maybe Lil Reb. Says, hey, Matt, I live just across the Pennsylvania state line in Ashtabul up on Lake Erie. I heard that Mr. Fetterman is not the same as he was before. When I was young, I was that other word. Thank the good Lord I woke up right. I'm trying to make sense of what you're talking about, that he was not the same as he was before. I'm not exactly sure, but hey, thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm starting to get a little bit disappointed in Fetterman. Like I said, I'm a little bit mad. I had to express some of my anger today towards Fetterman. He's talking about how great voter ID is, and then when push comes to shove, he's not actually, doesn't seem like he's going to vote for it. You can't have it both ways, brother. I'm not going to let him have it both ways. Roxrolls, sir, he says, okay, good one. He says, for perspective, national debt is approximately 38 trillion. Okay, there you go. The population of the world is approximately 8 billion. Every man, woman, and child on earth would have to donate $4,750 each just for the USA to break even. You know, maybe we need to do another dedicated broadcast talking about the national debt. I've seen, I don't know, maybe some compelling arguments that this is a very complex topic, and I'm not going to pretend like I have all the answers right now, but one of the ideas that I've read a couple times here and there is that the USA, to some degree, maybe not to the degree of $38 trillion, but to some degree, the USA has a vested interest in other countries maintaining U.S. debt. For example, everybody says China has trillions of dollars of U.S. debt. We owe them money. That in some regard, to some degree, that is beneficial, because then you have other countries all around the world that are invested in the U.S. global U.S. dollar position of dominance, or the U.S. dollar global hegemony. That, you know, other countries are invested in our U.S. dollar success because they owe us, or we owe them money. They hold U.S. debt. And that if there was ever a U.S. dollar collapse, then we would bring other countries down alongside us because they are holding hundreds of billions or trillions of dollars of U.S. debt. So the point is, there's some pros, a lot of cons, maybe some pros. It's a very complex topic. But you're right. The point is, listen, hey, at a minimum, we should not be spending trillions of dollars a year in fraud, or we should not be racking up trillions of dollars a year in debt in the form of fraud. Let's put it that way. Big problem, massive problem. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I think we've covered everything today. I think we've wrapped up all the super chats, all the Rumble rants. I think we got it. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you very much. Now, I will have one video uploaded later today for you guys on Matt Morse TV, on Rumble, and on YouTube. And then 2 videos uploaded on the Morse Report. In fact, you know what? While I have a minute, while I have everybody here, I do such a bad job at promoting myself. I'm a terrible self-promoter. Ladies and gentlemen, we have made a new 24/7 news feed on X called the Morse Report. 24/7 breaking news all day, every day. If you have not already, go ahead and follow the Morse Report on X, Morse Report. I'm going to post that in Rumble chat and on YouTube chat. And then beyond that, we also have a second YouTube channel now called the Morse Report. The Morse Report is underway. I'm going to link the Morse Report here for you guys. That channel's blowing up. Yeah, it is. Everyone, if you have not already followed the Morse Report, here it is on YouTube. Follow that as well. And there it is. But with all of that out of the way, ladies and gentlemen, I want to say thank you all very much for tuning in. Crazy day, massive day, a lot of good news today. Okay, I'll see you folks tomorrow, Sunday, for our Sunday morning live broadcast. Tonight, have a good Valentine's. Thank you, everyone. God bless. Stay safe. And until I see you tomorrow, thank you very much.